Well, Manchester United fans, you remember Angel Di Maria? Yeah, I thought about that. You'd forgotten about him already, of course. Well, he's not back in the headlines, but his wife is. I'm joined by Danny Higginbotham to talk about Di Maria's wife, but comments that she has made and nothing else. And she's been rather derogatory about Manchester. Let's, first of all, before we hear from Danny and get his thoughts, hear from Mrs. Di Maria and find out what she has been saying about their time together in Manchester. It was horrible, says Jorgelina. Manchester is the worst. It's all horrible in Manchester. In fact, I fought a lot with Angel about it. We lived in Madrid. Angel played in the best team in the world, which for me is Real Madrid. We were perfect. The weather was perfect. The food was perfect. And suddenly he said that there was a proposal to go to Manchester. I told him, not a chance. You are going alone. There was a lot of money involved. Afterwards, the Spanish were calling us money grabbers. And they were right. The people, well, they're all pasty-faced, prim and proper, weird. They're walking down the street and you don't know if they're going to kill you or what. And the food's disgusting. Apart from that, Danny Higginbotham looks like they enjoyed themselves in Manchester. What about those comments?
It's unbelievable. It reminds me of there's a group in the 70s called the Steve Miller Band, and they did a specific song called "Take the Money and Run," and it seems very similar to that. The one thing that frustrates me about this is that A, why did you join the club then? B, why didn't you say anything whilst he was at the club? And C, everybody knows that Madrid isn't Manchester. Everybody knows that. But at the end of the day, you're coming to work. Your husband is coming to, in my opinion, the biggest club in the world. And, I just think you have to accept that. And it's something that I know was a frustration when I was at Sunderland of Roy Keane's at times, that it was about the geography when it should be for the prestige to play for such a wonderful football club like Manchester United more than anything. But, these comments have obviously come out now, but he's a player, unfortunately, from United's perspective, promised so much, but didn't deliver. And I think it's something what you would call maybe just a slight bit of deflection.
Of course. Look, if we weren't in the middle of a pandemic, would these comments have made the headlines they're making? Probably not. But just to address the points, the reason they went to Manchester from Madrid was money. They've accepted that, or she has accepted that on Angel's behalf. The second one, it's like players these days going to China. You don't really want to go there because you can't speak the language. But if you're being offered so much more money, as Di Maria was at Manchester United, than if he'd stayed put, you can understand it. But there is something in life called a little bit of decorum.
No, 100% there is. And like I say, the frustration from my perspective, I'm Manchester born and bred myself, and is said at the time. Don't wait till after. Don't wait till a few years afterwards. Obviously, he's at Paris Saint-Germain now, which is obviously a wonderful city in itself. But there's just no need for the comments. I'm sure it will have been translated, because there was certain phrases in there when I originally read it that was like Manchester phrases that you wouldn't expect from somebody from Argentina. But it has been looked at, and people have every right to be frustrated and annoyed by it, because so many people are proud of Manchester as a city, because what it's been through over the last few years. We know certain things that have happened there.
Yeah.
Manchester people are proud people, and they don't deserve that.
Yeah, she never mentioned the music scene, did she? Have that, Mrs. Di Maria. When you put together not you, when anybody puts together a list of flops at Manchester United, he may or he may not feature in that list. Why didn't it work out for a player who has been excellent for Real Madrid, for PSG, and for Argentina?
I actually felt a little bit for him. When he joined the club, he came. It was a record transfer for Manchester United at the time, one of the highest fees in world football, and everything looked good at the start. It wasn't as though he came in and just didn't do anything. He came in, I think, in his first 4 games, he got 2 goals and 2 assists. And he was playing on the left-hand side of midfield, which was where he'd got man of the match for Real Madrid against Atletico Madrid in the Champions League final just a couple of months prior. But the beginning of the end for Di Maria was also his best game, which was Leicester City away. They were 2-0 up, cruising, 3-1 up after 57 minutes, and ended up getting beat 5-3. And after that game, I think Van Gaal looked at it and thought, right, we need to take more of a defensive approach. That didn't mean that Di Maria was taken out of the team, but he was switched from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. And what we were so used to seeing with Di Maria over the years, and even his early stages of his career at Manchester United, was when he got the ball on the left-hand side, was driving at the full-back into so much space with him going on the outside. Now you switch that over, and he's now playing on the right-hand side. His first touch is infield, and all you're doing is just going into a cluster of bodies. It becomes more of a problem, and he just ended up going down so many cul-de-sacs. So I think that had a part to play with it. Then the injury. The injuries took its toll, and as well, there was an attempted burglary at his house. So there was a number of factors that really went against him.
As someone who played abroad where English wasn't the first language, you played in Belgium, and I'm not even going to attempt to try and speak Flemish because everything will get covered in spit and everything like that. He, for the first time when he went to Manchester with Mrs. Di Maria, was going to a club where they didn't speak his first language. And I know he's in Paris now, but that was his first move. How difficult did you find it in Belgium if people didn't speak English? And how easy or hard was it to adapt to a different country?
I think you have to embrace it. I went over to Belgium. Fortunately, there was so many different nationalities. I think there was 16 or 17 different nationalities within the squad. But if you put the shoe on the other foot, me as an Englishman, being in a dressing room, seeing a foreign player coming through the doors, you have the utmost respect for them if they then try to get used to the way you are, as in terms of the language that you speak, the way that the country is in a whole. And if they embrace it, then life becomes so much easier. And, we're talking about Argentinian players. Well, you only have to look across to the other side of Manchester. You've had Aguero, you've had Zabaleta, and they seem to have dealt with it okay. So it's all about how you approach it. From my perspective, going abroad, it was something that I had to embrace, the culture and everything that surrounded the area, and try and do that. Also, otherwise, you will never fit in. And I think if players don't try to fit in, as in terms of whatever country that they're in, it becomes more difficult to adjust.
Finally, there have been a lot of good signings and a lot of bad signings since Sir Alex Ferguson left Manchester United. Would you say that Angel Di Maria is the biggest flop since Fergie left?
I wouldn't. No, I think just because on the premise that said when he first joined the club, you could see what he was all about. He started really well and then things conspired against him. I would say it has to be, since Sir Alex Ferguson left, probably Alexis Sanchez. And it's not because he's not a fantastic player. If anything, that's probably made him more of a flop than what he would ordinarily have been. You've got to remember, this was a player that I think the previous year for Arsenal in the Premier League, he'd scored 20 plus goals. He'd always scored, I think, more than 15 goals in the Premier League for every year that he'd been at Arsenal. And when he came to Manchester United, myself included, thought to myself, wow, this is going to be an incredible signing. We thought that he was just going to be, I'm not saying the missing piece in the jigsaw, but one of the missing pieces in what was a jigsaw that was being rebuilt. And it just didn't work for him. At no point did I look and think to myself, wow, this is the player that was at Arsenal. Because Arsenal was sensational, but it didn't work out for him at Manchester United. And I think the frustrating thing is that he's still at United, but he's on loan at Inter Milan, and United is still playing a large sum of his wages.
Well, at least Angel Di Maria had an excuse. I mean, he was from South America. What was Alexis Sanchez's excuse? By the way, before we end, I think you're spot on with something you said earlier. Can you imagine Mrs. Di Maria saying, the people are all pasty-faced? I'm not sure that was translated exactly how she meant it. Pasty-faced. Come on, love.
Exactly. So sometimes some things can get taken out of context. With the language barrier. But at the end of the day, it's something that's been said. In my opinion, I would say whether I was from Manchester or not, it's something that's not needed to be said. He's long gone. He's having his success now at Paris Saint-Germain. It didn't work out at Manchester United, and sometimes that can happen.
When it reopens, I'm sure many people can enjoy the Trafford Centre. I don't think Mrs. Di Maria, though, will be one of them.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.